Hello, everyone. Welcome to Meticulous Talks on May 27th. I am Cursed Chords.
And I'm Hifrock.
As always, good to speak with you again, Hithrog.
Yeah, it's been a while now,
Uh,
but
well,
hopefully we'll be back on schedule now.
yes, now that we've got all of our scheduling sort of issues worked out, I don't think there's going to be a problem for us for the next little while.
At least a couple of months, I think.
Yeah. Uh, when's Everfree? Is it
It's August, middle of August.
right? But which? Well, yeah, I'm not going to count weeks. Yeah, so not
Yeah,
until not until then, and we'll see if we end up on that weekend or not.
yeah.
Um, yeah. So for this week, it was your idea actually, Iftark. So thank you for the suggestion. Uh, we are going to have another one of our kind of discussion streams. This time, looking at a hypothetical situation where we take the adventure format and remove what is probably its most iconic card.
Uh, Meta-defining card, if you will.
Yes, that being train traditions. It is a problem from Marks in Time. Most people, I assume, probably are familiar with it, but just in case you aren't, there's at the start of the game, your main gets to have an extra color until that problem goes away. It has been used by many different decks. Never really was a thing in Farm, mostly because Farm was monocolor almost all the time. But other
Yeah.
than that, it's been used kind of everywhere. And so, what does Adventure look like without it?
Yeah. In many ways, what adventure is right now is trading, thanks to training institutions.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're going.
Well, yeah. So, I did some research. I don't think anyone's going to be surprised that I looked at the archive of past decks in the adventure format to see how prevalent train traditions really was. And I was actually surprised, at least recently, by where I didn't find it. I already mentioned Farm. Uh, Yellow actually doesn't use it very much. Tends to rely on buckball strategy more often. Uh, Yellow decks using Nurturing Nature and Thorax and similar. Uh, there is the big uncertainty of Bluna because Bluna used Tarnished Reputation while it was still around.
Yes.
And back in the day, Hot Wings was all about train traditions. So I guess there is a little bit of uncertainty there as to what's going to happen now that Tarnished Reputation's gone.
I think Bluna can work without training traditions.
Well, obviously, yeah, since
Yes.
it used Tarnished Reputation all that
Well, it
time.
was. Tarnish Reputation was like really good.
Like, well, it was really good, but like the fact that it was there implies that it wasn't just the mono Luna decks that used it. It was no matter what your secondary color was, they used it. So
Well, you only
Luna,
need it for the first move. So
yeah, yeah. So Luna is obviously not in any problems as far as getting into her secondary color goes.
yeah,
We did have one Luna deck from BabsCon this year, Living Silver. This was after the Tarnished Reputation ban. He did include train traditions again,
mm.
but other than that, nothing known. So that's the major uncertainty. The other kind of broad theme that I found was that the problem is used most often by the Sequestria mains.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Like they benefit from it the most.
Yeah,
Them and Grogar,
them and Grogar for the exact same reason, essentially.
pretty much. Yes.
Um, The sequester mains being mostly Tempest and Skystar. Seleno, just because she's often used in farm decks or combo decks or stuff that doesn't care as much. But if you ever see Seleno being mid-range or aggro with a secondary color, there's going to be Train Tradition.
Yeah.
So, I think that's the biggest question to ask. And I think you have a lot of experience playing Tempest, at least. Do you think that the kind of style of decks that you tend to play would work without it?
Well, I don't know if I want to say known, but it has like I have been told that I'm pretty greedy with my entry. And trading traditions enables me to be greedy with my entry. Because with Tempest you block a problem off. And it's like there's not gonna be like a double face off for a little bit, enough for me to like secure my colors before it's gone. So in a way, it pretty much guarantees me my second color every time, and I don't have to worry about having entry for it. I only have to worry about my tertiary color if I run it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I usually like in a free color deck, I would have like 4 entry cards, maybe 5, which is pretty low by entry standards for even dual color decks. But it's all thanks to trading traditions. Although with Rush Makeover, I guess I include that now, in addition to some other things.
Yeah, and there have been control decks in sort of more modern times. Well, I think it's just Yuna actually. But have used the sort of more modern neutral color entry, brush
Yeah.
makeover, etc. To get their colors. I suppose another point that I should bring up. This was another major archetype that used train traditions a lot was Reanimator. With a bunch of different mains. Student 6, Changeling Pretender, Grogar, etc. All of them use train traditions. Which I guess does make sense. Reanimator is like getting more colors early is something Reanimator like almost always wants to do.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I mean, you need 2. You need white and orange, right?
yeah.
Or pink now, I guess, with Royal Family.
Yeah. Well, yeah. White and one of them.
Well, ideally, you want all of them. So, yeah, the
Mhm.
more colors, the better.
Yeah. So that is the other archetype that probably there's questions to be asked on how big of a deal that is. Obviously, Reanimator ran infiltrating back in the day and could go back to doing that.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when Reanimator ran Cluj Citizen. Doesn't seem to be the case anymore.
It's true. It's been a little while since we last saw the animator with that card.
Yeah. And perhaps it would come back without training traditions. But I think for like decks that actually rely on it, like Tempest decks or Reanimator, or maybe some other decks, not Bluna, at least not some styles of Bluna, they would get significantly worse without it. And like they would have to dedicate more slots for entry, and you'd still have to find entry, which means your deck is slower now. So the question here is, if trading traditions was not a thing, wouldn't it be just the case that the aggro decks and other decks that are farm decks that are doing fine without it would just be stronger and dominate because the other decks would suddenly become less viable? Because those decks that don't use training traditions right now are strong enough without it, and
Yeah.
they will still be just as strong, while all other decks become weaker.
Yeah. I think if I don't know if I have any. If I was paying attention back in the day of when before train traditions was a thing, but probably not. Like, yeah, what like are there any reasonable alternatives for those decks? Certainly none that allow you to keep the colors as good as they are. Um, combo decks use Royal Breakfast just for its high confront requirement, but it's not. It's really not a
And the
great.
card draw.
Sorry,
And the card draw.
and the card draw. Yeah. Um, nothing really
Second
springs to
chance
mind.
could be fine.
Second chance, you said?
Yeah, it's with the new second rules. Could be good.
Right, right.
Because like you can,
Mystery is a reasonable. It's reasonable. It's not amazing. Starting problem.
yeah, it doesn't give you color right away, but it guarantees you entry. But mystery, the thing I don't like about mystery is that it has to be solved. So, like, if you're playing against a control deck, you might never get that.
Yeah, there just isn't a whole lot of amazing starting problems for what control would want. At least not in mono. Let me. This is actually a better query for not Phony Head. Okay, I want problems, and I want text greater than or
Right?
equal to starting.
Starting problem is a trait, not text.
Oh, it's a trait?
Yes.
Oh.
Actually, it might still be in the text. I don't know.
Starting problem, and I want. Okay, right. This is. I want CI not equals none? Or does that work for
Uh,
problems?
no, what do you want?
I want problems that have non-wild confront requirements.
Why do you want non-wild confront requirements?
Because I was just looking at all the ones with
Oh,
that
for
are no
color.
colors. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it will be not equal null.
Oh, null.
Maybe wild, I'm not sure. I don't remember. I should write some tips for myself
Uh,
as well.
wild color.
Oh yeah, I guess you can do that.
Okay, it is null. But that
Oh yeah, because wild is not a color.
yeah.
Null is no color. So you were right.
All right, here we go. And then I want to format adventure. Okay. Anything in colors that is reasonable or control. The mono white control has surprise concert, but mono white control isn't really a thing.
Yeah.
Under the weather is of course banned. Yeah, there sure ain't a whole lot to work with.
But I think all of the starting problems until New Dawn were colorless, right? All of them.
Yes, that's right actually.
So that's why there aren't a lot of options. Also, this query doesn't show the color not color for some reason. Because of like tarnish reputation. So tarnish reputation is not color. Never mind. Never mind. I guess those aren't starting problems.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think in colors you don't have a lot of options, and colorless problems are. I mean, mystery is fine. There are a lot of good aggro ones, and for control you only get Royal Breakfast. But I think you would rather run, if you're not running combo, I think you would rather run Second Chance in control. It's one less rec for them from 8 to 7, but you get an extra AT. But I guess drawing a card is also an extra AT in a way.
Well, as we worked out with the new rules, extra AT is a lot better than drawing a card.
Yeah, but Rogue
Right,
Vectors gives you a draw card draw every time.
right. Second chance is only half an AT in
Yes.
the long run.
Well, no, it's a little more now because a lot of opponents would tend to go first. Like if you
Right,
lose the roll, they choose who goes first, and they would probably likely choose to go first.
right. And if you win the roll, you choose to go second.
Yes. So I would say it's about 75% AT.
Right. Hmm.
But it's still like, yeah, I guess it is about the same value as Royal Breakfast.
Yeah. Three-quarters of an AT is probably close to a card draw. Um, I was just thinking, actually. Sorry, this is gonna be our tangent for the day, maybe. Um, would it be way too good to have a starting problem that was just uh at the start of the game, search your deck for a problem and replace this with that one?
I choose Blackmail.
Yeah, yeah,
Do you really want to play against Blackmail turn 1?
yeah. Hmm.
And if not Blackmail, like say
Yeah,
Blackmail get
there's a
banned,
whole bunch of
you
bad stuff.
can
All
get
right,
any other 10. Like on the case,
all
if you
right,
start a face off, I get 2 ET.
all right. Yeah, all right. Bad idea.
I mean, you could like put some restrictions. Like you can't find a problem that's higher than 7 in opposing rec, but I don't know. So actually, Reanimator could run instead of trading traditions, infiltrating the hive.
Yeah, as it
It,
used to back in the day,
yeah, so
or
it's
rather, as it does in core, I suppose I should say.
yes, it's not as good as trading, but it gets there.
Yeah, well, yeah, it has the distinction that you're only going to get 2 rec in your other color, as opposed to if you were playing Grogar, you would get 3. Um, uh,
But it is enough for Orchard Blossom, and that's why Reanimator worked in core.
mhm.
And that's all you really need. It also discards your cards. So
Yeah, has the extra benefit of discarding 2 cards straight away.
yeah. So I
Um,
think Reanimator would be fine, honestly.
Reanimator would probably be fine. Yes. Uh, we talked about Tempest. What about Skystar? Is used for largely the same reason. She doesn't have the ability to lock in problems as easy as Tempest did.
Yes.
But usually I mean, we're talking about the BRB decks basically. Well, actually, BRB has been Tempest lately. Try to find. Have to go back to Invitationals to find one that was
Tempest
played.
Orange, I think. Yeah. And well, I run pink usually. I like it more. But GP runs purple orange BRB.
Hmm. Yeah. So I guess let's see. Going back to the most recent Skystar BRB deck, which was Invitational Grand Pauses, is still legal. Actually, didn't use banned cards. Good for him. Uh, it just had a lot of, well, I guess six generic entry cards, and no fixed entry cards. The fact that barrel exists is such a big good thing for adventure. Like that's the
Yeah,
saving grace that adventure has. If you take out train editions, is that it's got barrel.
yeah. Barrel has been always so good, especially if you have 6 of them.
Especially, yeah. Well, actually, in the one recorded instance of that happening, it wasn't a particularly good thing for the deck.
No. uh, yeah, but barrel you still have to find.
Mhm.
In pink decks, you have Torch Song. That's your barrel finder.
Yeah.
And Mystery at Hope's Hollow.
So is that what it would be then? For the pink decks, you would probably need to run a few of them. Yeah.
I don't know if you would run Torch Song,
Well,
but
yeah,
it's an option.
you would just start mystery. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you would probably it'd be worth it to have a couple, maybe one or two torch songs in your sideboard. Because if you run up against an opponent who replaces mystery, it's a good idea to have something.
Yeah.
Maybe only one copy of torch song, because you do have a couple barrels in your deck anyway. You could just draw it generally.
You know, you said a starting problem that tutors for another problem immediately.
Uh huh.
But maybe there should be mystery that tutors for a card immediately. Like it's probably with lower confront tracks, maybe something similar to trading traditions where it's pretty low for your opponent. But you can find the no wreck card at the start of the game. I don't think there's anything like too. I mean, Farm would love it because they could find the troublemaker.
Yeah, farm would really love that. If
And
you limited it to friends, maybe. Is that
but then you don't get rushed makeovers or motivational speeches
hmm?
or barrels. No, I think it's fine. We can give Farm a little love.
I
It's
think
fine.
yeah, it's
They can get the troublemaker.
as if farm ever. Well, it does sometimes, but not very often have any problems with having a troublemaker in its hand at the start of the game.
Yeah.
Although, I suppose I say that there's a distinction between that and always being able to have a specific troublemaker in your hand at the start of the game.
Oh, but maybe what you do is you reveal cards from the top of your deck until you reveal a card without wreck, and then you get
Mm,
that one. Then you don't get to choose which troublemaker it is, or which entry it is, which could be pretty good.
that is,
But
and that also has the downside of potentially revealing a significant amount of your deck to the opponent at the start of the game.
yeah, you shuffle it, but now they kind of know what's in there. You know, I think that's a good trade-off.
That's an interesting thought. Okay.
Well, anyway,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was right. It was our tangent for the day. So yeah, that's. I think the broad summary of the discussion though has been that there isn't really a good replacement for train traditions in those decks that really rely on it, which is to say the slower Tempest and Skystars.
yeah,
And because yellow for sure, and Luna probably don't care at all if Train Traditions is gone, and Farm for sure
probably.
doesn't care at all if
Yeah,
it's gone. Um, it would be it certainly seems like it would be a big gift to aggro to get rid of it
and Farm.
and Farm. Yeah,
I think Farm most of all.
yeah. Well, yeah. Farm doesn't care at all.
Yeah, all it does, it makes your opponent slower.
Yeah. it's almost always going to be, well, yeah, a problem that you can just easily confront if you ever need it, and by virtue of Farm rarely caring about the problems anyway, unless they're problems that, say, flip more cards, then, yeah. I shouldn't say that. Blue Farm cares about the problems, actually, a lot sometimes.
Yes. Yeah, also less moving like a little away from completely competitive meta decks. I think Trading Traditions enables a lot of tricolor decks that wouldn't be possible otherwise, because it would just not have enough slots, because you need to include so much entry.
It
And
is.
just as you said, Barrel is the saving grace here. Barrel is the second card that enables that.
Yeah, let's see, is there...
Like if you look at Core, which doesn't have Barrel or Trading Traditions, how many more than 2 colors decks we know,
right.
other than Reanimator, that doesn't have
Other
it?
than Reanimator. Okay. Let me have a look. Yeah, and it's
What's Alicorn's Core? That is a deck that probably has more than 2 colors.
right, but is that Reanimator?
Is it
Well, I know. Okay, there's a few things that could be alicorns, depending on how you use the word.
the yellow purple deck?
The yellow, I mean, I know that's been played in Harmony. I don't know if that's been played in Core. Let's see. Not since the early Surprise Wheel. Well, if you count, or wait, a second. I need to remember. So, Chaos Control deck from Invitationals, kind of last year-ish, was 3 or more colors. Pink,
Okay.
white, orange. Not much white. That's maybe marginal. Oh, there was purple though. Purple, pink, orange. Yeah, fair
It's a
amount
lot
of
of
that.
colors. But I mean, Chaos Control is like, you're not gonna play some of those cards.
Actually, look at the deck
It's
again.
like it's primarily pink orange. Now you rely on Gavin just flipping a lot of cards.
Well, you're gonna
I guess
play
you play
Rainbow
Discord.
Shine and Discord. Yeah, those are cards that get played.
I
Anyway.
guess that's why it plays Rainbow Generator, the closest alternative to Barrel.
Yeah. Going back a little bit further. Grand Pause with Sky Star. I mean, yeah. Broadly purple, pink, white. Same colors that have always been getting together since the dawn of time. But you're certainly right that there's not a whole lot of it.
I think it's not as easy to splash into more colors, because it'd be focused on getting your primary ones, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And like with Trading Traditions and Tempest, it's just so easy to run 2 colors without worrying about entry pretty much at all, and then worrying about entry for your third color, which will also be like your last resort if one of your primary colors is gone. Especially if you have Barrel. With Barrel, you just, once you get the Barrel, you don't really care.
Yeah. Yeah, like even, yeah, you might lose that problem later, but you've secured your early game, which is always the most important
Yes.
thing. Once things happen later on in the game, well, yeah, you'll have tools, you'll have ways of recovering.
Yeah. Another important thing about Tempest Trading Traditions and Skystar Trading Traditions combo and Grogar is that you can play all of your cards, well, asterisk, turn 2, right? Or 1 in case of Grogar. Being able to play cards turn 1 with Grogar was raised up as an issue before. After Vancouver, at least, when GP was playing his mean deck,
Mhm.
the orange-white. So, is it too strong to be able to play at least all of your cards turn 2? Like, let's say Grogar gets banned. I don't think it will be banned, but let's say
Yeah.
Grogar is not a thing. Like, for Tempest and Skystar. Trading Traditions means that you can play all of your cards turn 2.
Yeah. Well,
Most of them, like,
yeah.
actually,
Almost all of them. Yeah. And any 4/4, anything with 4 requirement or greater,
yeah.
can't come off. But there's a lot of, as we've seen, there's a lot of powerful stuff at 3 requirement or less.
Selena Blue was a thing.
Yep. And that is, yeah, that is a legitimate concern. It is a bit of a, like, you do need to have those cards in your opening hand. But well,
No, you don't. Like, what cards do you need in your opening hand?
the
Like,
cards that you're intending on playing.
yeah, which is probably most of your deck you intend on playing, right? Like, you're probably gonna have cards you want to play in your hand.
Fair enough.
Well, otherwise, why are they there?
You do tend to fill your deck with cards you want to play,
Yeah.
except for Golden Parachute and Fallen Elite.
Yes. So, like, yeah.
And yeah, we did have that. I remember us having that discussion specifically about in the context of VPE earlier this year.
Yeah, I think that was about Grogar.
Yeah,
Because Grogar is not turn 2, it's turn 1.
it's turn 1, which is
Which is if you go second, is especially interesting.
with 3 AT. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, and I still think it's a tough question to answer. It is potentially problematic for sure, but I'm really not sure what you could do about it aside from, like, getting rid of transitions is I think that's too big of a step to take for that, especially
Yeah.
given how big of a deal it would be across the adventure format.
Yeah. It will hurt control decks, as we've concluded, I guess,
Yeah.
quite a bit. And maybe the meta would be a little bit too core-like.
I am not so sure about that. Maybe that's another stream that we can have at some point in the future, actually. is like, there's train editions. What are the other cards from Odyssey's block that still resonate in,
Luna,
well, Luna, yes, in
that's it.
adventure? Is that it?
Blackmail. Yeah, there's a few.
Blackmail. We talked about Barrel this whole time. Yeah, there's a few. Because yeah, I think that is a legitimate point that you bring up. That it's true. You probably don't have to chip away too many cards before adventure functionally turns into core.
Yeah. But I think training traditions would be a big block of that.
Yeah.
Like, remove training traditions in Luna and Blackmail, and that's very close already.
Yeah.
Don't even leave Barrel in. I don't think Barrel makes as much impact.
Yeah.
Although it does help a lot with, like, more multicolored decks.
having already gotten rid of Luna, there's all the blue cards from High Magic that don't matter anymore because Luna's gone.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't run a lot of hasty stuff that Luna runs.
Yeah.
Hmm? Topic for another day, I guess.
I think so. I think I'm gonna write that down. 1 second here. Yeah, which I think so. A lot of this comes back to this is a question that I had kind of down in my notes when we first talked about adventure, like a couple of years ago now, when we had the discussion about whether adventure even should be a format.
Yes.
It essentially boiled down to this idea that, correct me if I'm wrong, it could be a novel deck building format that was distinctive and yet a little bit nostalgic as well. Is that right, or was there more to it than that?
I don't remember. I don't remember what I had last week.
Fair
You
enough.
asked me what was on our stream 2 years ago.
Fair enough. I mean, that seemed like the salient question to this point is like, is adventure more of a nostalgia format where we play it because we enjoy playing these old decks from the past, just without all the garbage that was in Harmony, or is it more like Core, where the fun is you come to a tournament and you don't know what someone's going to bring. Someone's got some new interesting interaction or combo that right, it's the novelty that makes it good. Because there's been a bit of both in adventure in the
Yeah,
time that we've had it.
I agree.
Well, that was an either or question. You can't just agree to it.
No, you said it was a bit of both, and
Oh,
I agree that it is both.
sure. Okay.
Like, it's a lot of the cards you used to, but like, I mean, we've seen a lot of novel decks, I would say. Uh, in fact, I guess the only deck that's really similar is Bluna. And even that, we like, I liked Leo's deck with blue purple Bluna. That was really interesting. That was something very novel. But then again, it's Living Silver. He always brings something
Sorry,
novel.
you're talking about Babscon?
Yes.
That was Bluna Orange.
Was it? Where? Oh, he played Bluna Purple in online. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was interesting. And Bluna Orange was also interesting. I don't think Bluna Orange saw too much play before. Either way, even Bluna decks are novel, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we've seen a lot of Bluna before. But like BRB is kind of nostalgic, but also like GP's version is very different from what BRB was. And it plays quite a bit different as well. The purple orange
Mm-hmm.
one with Coriander. So I think it's very much both. It's both a little nostalgia, but a lot of novelty, and I think the format turned out pretty well. I'm pretty happy where.
Oh yeah, yeah. No complaints about the format in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just um I guess given that that is true, that there has been an impressive amount of novelty to it, despite the fact that well, again, topic for another time, these great cards from the past are still in it, would be a mark against the idea of potentially getting rid of a card like Trade Vision. it doesn't seem to be holding back the format in an old pattern, as it were.
Yeah. Which is also proven by the fact that not all of the decks run it as well.
Yeah.
But even if they did, it would still be true. Like, even if every single deck ran trading traditions, and every single deck was different, that's fine, I think. That means trading traditions enables a lot of things.
Yep.
Like, it is a staple, and I think in general, I just feel like if you remove trading traditions, it's like it's kind of you move it closer to core, as I said before. And yeah, there will still be other defining cards, but why do move closer to core? I think it's nice to have two formats, different and separate.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Um. Yeah. If Adventure was too close to core, there'd be no point in us having it. That was kind of the reason why Harmony, I think, has largely fallen by the wayside. Is broadly the same as Adventure,
Except with like more crazy stuff, I guess.
slightly. Yeah.
More combo potential. So another little bit that we haven't touched on yet is that clearly trading traditions limits the design space of mains, especially.
Right.
And would removing trading traditions be worth that? Like freeing up that space or not? For example, like again, we got Grogar, which is a novel main. I mean, we did see a Discord main before with the same like shtick that has free power on the starting side. But like still, clearly trading traditions limits on what you can do with like mains. And like imagine a multicolored main that starts with 2 colors. And with trading traditions that becomes 3 colors.
Yeah. That is so. Generally speaking, it feels like I'm putting my thoughts together as I'm talking here. In terms of like competitiveness, confront to flip is kind of the median speed of flipping, right? Like mains that flip slower than that seem to just not work unless they have really, really good text.
Yes, like Student 6.
Student 6 or Changeling Pretender, basically.
Yeah, and I mean Pinky Cannoneer is also there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, yeah. Except in really interesting conditions.
Yes.
And then so, and most of the really good mains are faster than that. Looking at the Sequestria mains, Grogar for obvious reasons, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, if you want to, I guess innovations in the space are probably going to be on the faster side, and that is the space that is constrained most by train traditions.
Yes.
So in that sense, yes, you probably do open up your design space a fair bit if you were to get rid of the card. Now, in core, obviously, it doesn't exist. And I think in core, well, I can't speak for Sim, obviously, but I would always have the opinion that core should take a little bit higher precedence than adventure as far as new card designs go.
Mm-hmm.
Slightly. So I think as long as you're in the space between Grogar and a confront to flip main, I think you're okay. Maybe push the envelope a little bit more. Like obviously you can't go faster than Grogar, just being on 3 from the start.
That would be pretty hard.
Yeah. But yeah, like somewhere in that space, in kind of the area of some minor cost or effect that is in in the area of somewhere between 2 and 3 AT. That puts you like between basically the sequester mains and the uh, chrysalis. What set was she from? Is that New Dawn or Fond Memories? That was New Dawn, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, like somewhere in the speed space between the sequester mains and the New Dawn mains. I think you can. There's still room to innovate in that area where it would be okay to print cards in there with transitions still existing.
Yeah, but like the point is that you would probably want to go below that area, like with Grogar.
Yeah.
That's where the most of the design space is, because most of the mains are not that fast or not that strong.
Hmm. Certainly,
And
yeah. If you wanted to actually challenge the sequester mains, then you'd have to go into that area. Yeah.
yeah, but even like yeah, you like the precedence should go to core probably, but you cannot just ignore adventure. Like
Hmm.
if you print something that's better than Grogar and it's gonna break adventure, that's a problem. even even if core is completely fine, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, but but I think having TC is better than opening design space in that way because it is kind of one of the definitive features of adventure, and I think it's a good one, and I like the card.
Yeah. Like at the very least, there's room to try pushing the envelope a little bit. Like as you mentioned, Grogar is right on the limit and potentially, even arguably, is problematic.
Yeah,
Um, so you obviously don't want to stray too close to that line. But there's probably space to push it a little bit beyond where the sequester remains are. And like it's worthwhile to print a couple of cards in that area. And then we can have this discussion later. If those cards end up being problematic too, then like okay, maybe we are
yeah,
somewhat constrained by train traditions existing.
yeah.
Thanks for bringing that up, though. By the way, that was a situation I hadn't really considered.
Yeah, I mean that. I think that was kind of the primary point of the discussion of banning trading traditions or not. Not like our discussion, but like general discussion
Hmm.
in the community, or at least amongst him, because that's the most contributing factor, I would say. I
Yeah,
think by itself, trading traditions does not break the format.
right.
If anything, it makes it, as we've discussed, but it does constrain the design space.
Okay, well, that's. I don't think I have any more points I wanted to bring up. Did
Yeah, yeah,
okay, yeah, that's it for you as well. Um, yeah, we got through a number of different matters to consider. I think the broad conclusion, not that I well, to the extent that there was any question about whether about actually getting rid of train traditions, the broad conclusion is probably not for now.
yes, I agreed.
As you mentioned, it makes the format as much as it potentially harms it at the moment. Um, but fruitful discussion, and even some ideas for the future.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, our next stream, as we mentioned at the start, we'll be back to normal scheduling, which is going to be the 10th of June. That's the week before the online con, I think, right?
I think so. Yeah.
yeah, for those unaware, there's going to be our kind of summer online con, as it were, on the 17th and 18th. So once that's finished, we'll have decks to review for that. That'll be the 24th, I guess. On the 10th, we might just talk about this idea that just occurred about the cards in adventure that from the Odysseys block that are still relevant.
Yep. Or we'll do something else.
Or we might do something else. We'll see. Otherwise, thank you to everybody in the chat for coming out and listening. Until next time, I guess I've been Cursicorge.
And I've been Hifrock.
And we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Bye.